to another meeting of the Lorain County Commissioners, broadcast exclusively on your Lorain County Community College education station. The Lorain County Commissioners cordially invite you to see the meeting live and in person every Thursday morning. The meetings are located in the Lorain County Administration Building, located at 226 Middle Avenue in downtown Elyria. The meetings start at 9:30 a.m. on most weeks. Now, enjoy the meeting.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning and welcome to the October 11th meeting of the Lorain County Board of Commissioners. I would like to ask that we observe a moment of silence in remembrance of the September 11th disaster that happened in our country. Thank you. And a thought for today on the calendar for October 11th, attributed to Charles Darwin, it says, "Anyone who dares waste 1 hour of life has not discovered the value of life." Madam Clerk.
Okay, on the resolutions, I need a motion to approve the Job and Family Services bills for payment.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Investments.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Appropriations.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Transfers.
Give me a minute. We just got these. So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
There are no advances today. Requisitions.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Travel expenses.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Approving bills for payment.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
I'd like to authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary for employees within the jurisdiction of the Lorain County Commissioners.
Are you wanting to talk to us?
Not particularly.
Well, okay, then don't. I mean, you know what, that's your problem.
I'll be requesting an executive session for the express purpose of discussing the purchasing of real estate and the review of a collective bargaining agreement, which is allowable under the Sunshine Law. So I would ask that this item be tabled until after the conclusion of that meeting.
Oh, you don't want us to?
There also may be a potential new hire.
Okay, very good then. So you really did want to talk to us.
Okay, I need to approve and enter into an agreement between the Board of Commissioners and Volvo's Office Plus to perform interior design services for the Justice Center in the amount not to exceed $14,728.75. In addition, the county desires to enter into an agreement to perform a project management services for 1% of the costs associated with the purchasing furniture through state purchasing. The amount is estimated at $8,050. Bobles was the lowest proposal received, and in addition, they are a local company and a state-approved provider.
And you want to give us a little
I would.
outline?
I'd first like to point out to the board that Karen Davis worked on this when we were able to save approximately $115,000 over what the architects wanted to perform this service. In addition to the $115,000, we were also able to move this business to a local vendor, which has been something we've been working on quite diligently throughout the course of this project to date. So I'm real pleased with this. once again, Karen Davis was the driving force behind this, and she deserves the recognition for saving the county well over $115,000 on this issue.
Fantastic.
Very good. I will
So
so
moved.
second.
Any more discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Approve and enter into contract between the Department of Job and Family Services and Horizon Activity Center, effective October 11th, 2001 through June 30th, 2002. Contract shall not exceed $97,917.88 and will be for staff training, professional development, to purchase classroom equipment, classroom furniture, and to purchase outside playground equipment using child care quality funds. Also need to authorize the president to execute on behalf of the board.
Also move.
I'll second.
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Need to notify the Lorain County Safe Harbor Incorporated, doing business as the Genesis House, that they are eligible for release of funds in the estimated amount of $84,828 collected as part of marriage license fees and annulments, divorces, or dissolutions pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Sections 3113.33 through 3113.39 and 2302.201. The estimates for funding available for the shelter in the year 2002 are as follows. Marriage license fees, $38,012. Annulments, divorces, or dissolution fees, $46,816 for the total estimated funding of $84,828.
Also move.
I'll second.
Discussion?
Yes, could, I received a letter from John on this. I mean, can you explain this a little bit to me?
I think he would be happy to discuss
I really
it.
didn't understand.
Good morning,
John
John.
Rokasy, County Budget Director, ROKASY. Briefly, Commissioners, this is an item that comes up once a year, and under the Ohio Revised Code sections that you see, agencies are eligible to apply for funding. This is special revenue funding derived from marriage licenses and fees from annulments, divorces that are secured through the county. We only had one application, that was Genesis House, and by the code, this would have to be accepted by the county commissioners as the agency to receive the special revenue funds that are designated for this purpose.
Now, who would apply for these funds then? If only one person or one group applied for it, is there more than any agency, or does this has to be tied to a certain
It has to be
benefit
a
for the-
safe harbor type agency, a domestic shelter commissioner, and the code does not specify that we advertise to have these agencies apply, but agencies are aware of this, and unfortunately we only receive one, or fortunately we receive one, and it's Genesis House to apply for these funds that are collected.
Now, so basically, is this all the funds that are there? Now, if there was like 3 or 4 agencies that applied for this, could they have divided?
It's
funds?
one fund, Commissioner.
Oh, it is?
And yes, it's one fund, and again, only one agency would be eligible for that would be chosen.
Well, I think that we could divide
Commissioner,
it. It's
right,
up
to-
to our discretion, is it not?
Yes. John, I think you're misunderstanding his question. If there was 4 eligible
Right.
agencies applying, the funds would have to be, whatever formula was used, but they would have to be divvied up between the 4 eligible agencies. The only reason it's only one is because only one applied.
One applied, okay.
What I'm saying is, because there's other agencies out there, if there was 3 or 4 more that would have applied, we would have had to take a look at what those groups were, and then at that point, maybe we would have some input on how the money would be allocated?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay,
For
I understand
whatever
your
reason,
question.
Genesis House has been the only applicant for this money for a number of years.
Okay.
Correct, that is correct. This has been the only agency that's applied, and it is a Lorain County agency, by the way.
Okay. Thanks, John.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Need to amend Resolution Number 98-196 that was adopted March 5th, 1998, to include fees for the cost of copying the Board of Commissioners meeting videotapes at a cost of $1.50 each. The county will provide the blank cassette and the video cassette tapes. Persons requesting a copy must send a written request to the clerk indicating the meeting dates.
You can't hide behind
I
your
don't want to start
agenda.
laughing.
You cannot hide behind your
I guess I
agenda.
missed the meeting last week, I guess. I heard there were some things being talked about.
We were talking about you, Commissioner.
Oh, yeah? My ears were ringing. I wondered what was going on.
I'll teach you to go away.
What happened? What's with this? Are we going to spend $1.50 per tape? Is that what this is?
We are only allowed under the law to charge the cost that we incur to purchase the tapes.
Okay.
Since the taxpayers already pay us to do a job, it's been decided that we're already being, the labor and associated work going into making the duplications has already been paid for, so we can always charge for the material. And that would be the tape, and we can get the tapes for $1.50 a piece.
What happens if we end up having 100 or, I mean, is there a limit to this resolution to say, what if we end up getting 100 people? We're going to have to, I'd hate to have to hire somebody full-time just to duplicate tapes. That's what I guess I'm getting at. Or was that discussion already had last time?
The potentiality exists whether it be videotapes, audio tapes, or written documentation.
Right. So we already have that in place. So if someone's coming up and asking for what we legally have to provide, we still provide those copies? Or?
We don't have a choice under the law.
Right, but my understanding is usually it's the reporters that are coming in asking for this kind of stuff.
And we normally work very closely with reporters. We don't have much of a problem with them. But recognizing that people are allowed to ask for large sums of documents if they so desire, if they're willing to pay the fee for those documents under the Public Records Access Law, we're required to produce those documents. And I'm not sure if Jerry would like to add to that or not.
He's smiling.
I'm very impressed with Mr. Cortez's knowledge of the law. He has the textbook on that. I can't add anything to what he put there. You got it right in there.
I think Shirley wants to add something to it.
Well, I want to add my sense of being very impressed, too, with Mr. Cortez. If he hadn't been so impressed, or Mr. Innes hadn't been so impressive, I would have tried to convince you of that, too.
Well, that's a first and a second to the motion, so anyway.
Well, at least we got a little redness coming this way. I like that, so.
Yeah, I've never seen that before. I like that.
I'm impressed.
So, would you like to move for this number 13 to be adopted?
Well, 13's my lucky number, so I'll move to.
Well, I'll second it.
Okay.
No more discussion. Mr. Moore?
I think that was enough.
That's enough. Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
I'd like to authorize the addition or deletion of employees in the Children's Services Department to utilize the Shell gasoline oil credit card for the balance of 2001.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
I'd like to approve change order number 1 to Williams Brothers Builders of Elyria, Ohio, in the amount of $2,157 for the Engineers Maintenance Garage Addition project. Change order is to reflect the increase in tap-in rates from the original estimate by the Lorain County Rural Water Authority, which changed the original specified tap size, resulting in additional costs to the project. I'd like to authorize the county administrator to execute on behalf of the board.
I will so move.
I'll second.
Discussion?
And, yes, Mr. Cortez wants to tell us about this.
Well, I'm not particularly in love with change orders, so we were very diligent about controlling those. Unfortunately, this one, the price of the tap-in changed after the job was bid, and this was at no, this was because of no dereliction on the part of the contractor. So we felt compelled to bring this change order to the board. Once again, that fee changed after the bid was received, and they had no way of knowing that the tap-in fees were going to change.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
I'd like to approve and enter into sub-recipient agreement between the Board of Commissioners and New Sunrise Properties for down payment assistance for the Community Housing Improvement Program, that's the CHIP program. This agreement allows New Sunrise Properties to provide down payment assistance to 4 low to moderate income households in Lorain County, specifically at or below 65% of poverty. The amount of assistance will not exceed $20,000, which is $5,000 per household. Funds have been allocated from Lorain County's fiscal year 2000 CHIP program. Ron Twining, the Director for Lorain County Community Development Department, has reviewed and recommends approval. I'd like to authorize the President to execute on behalf of the Board.
Also move.
I'll second.
Discussion?
And, yes, I would like Kelly Glenn to just briefly synopsize this for the benefit of everyone who's listening. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning. I'm Kelly Glenn, Assistant Director of Lorain County Community Development Department, GLENN. We entered into an agreement with New Sunrise Properties to provide down payment assistance to 4 families. It'll probably be in Oberlin because that's usually where they build their homes. This is something that the Community Development Department, we don't build homes. We just provide down payment assistance. So this is in addition to the down payment assistance that we already provide.
Okay, so have you already identified the 4 families, or?
No, so New Sunrise will identify those families.
Okay, just as a little plug if anybody's watching, they're, you know,
Uh-huh. Yeah, because usually
there's
our
4 new
down...
homes. These are 4 new homes, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Usually our down payment assistance is 80%, so theirs is 65%.
Okay.
I did think the paperwork could have possibly have been some in Sheffield Lake also.
That, if anybody
Is
in
that something
Sheffield Lake would apply for our...
Through us?
Through us directly.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Oh, fantastic.
Kelly.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
I'd like to accept on behalf of Columbia Township trustees the improvements and accepting the maintenance bond for a period of 1 year for the Hughes subdivision developer George Turney. Hughes subdivision contains 6 lots. The concrete pavement and storm sewers were installed by the developer and approved by the county engineer. The plat for Hughes subdivision in Columbia Township is recorded in plat volume number 68, page 23, in the Lorain County Record of Plats as follows. Castle Bar Court with a road number of TE-261 extending easterly from Columbia West River Road at 955.89 or 0.181 miles in length. Also, we need to return the unspent inspection money of $1,320.75 to the developer. The Columbia Township trustees have also accepted these improvements.
Also move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
I'd like to approve and enter into contracts, authorize the payment, and authorize the president to execute on behalf of the board contracts between the Board of Commissioners on behalf of the Children and Families Council for the Help Me Grow initiative as follows. The first one with Catholic Charities Services Corporation, Catholic Charities Family Center of Elyria, for the purchase and delivery of home visiting services. Contract shall not exceed $101,360 and is effective retroactive to July 1st, 2001 through June 30th, 2002. The funds allocated from the following sources will be TANF at $64,445, the GRF funds $19,329, and Part C $17,576. The next contract with the Elyria City Health Department for outreach, child find, intake and referral, procedural safeguards, prenatal visits, newborn home visits, home visiting services, services coordination, IFSP development, implementation and review, and evaluation. Contract shall not exceed $300,800, effective retroactive to October 1st, 2001 to September 30th, 2002. Funds allocated from the following sources will be TANF funds, $191,263, GRF funds, $57,337, and Part C, $52,199. Continuing on the next page, item C, Lighthouse Family Services doing business as Family Services Association of Lorain County Incorporated for prenatal visits and home visiting services, effective retroactive to July 1st, 2001 through June 30th, 2002. Funds allocated from the sources are TANF, $89,992, GRF funds, $26,988, and Part C, $24,539. Next contract with Listening Advantage for specialized services for audiology. Contract shall not exceed $9,000, effective retroactive to July 1st, 2001 through June 30th, 2002. Funds allocated from the following sources: TANF funds, $5,723, GRF funds, $1,716, and Part C, $1,561. Lorain County General Health District for outreach, child find, intake, and referral, procedural safeguards, prenatal visits, newborn home visits, home visiting services, service coordination, IFSP development, implementation and review, evaluation. The specialized service are clinic coordination services. Contract shall not exceed $178,200, effective retroactive to July 1st, 2001 through June 30th, 2002. Funds allocated from the following sources are TANF funds, $113,317, GRF funds, $33,983, and Part C, $30,900. For Music Therapy Enrichment Center Incorporated for music therapy, contract shall not exceed $4,900, effective retroactive to July 1st, 2001 through June 30th, 2002. Funds allocated from the following sources: TANF funds, $3,116, GRF funds, $934, and Part C, $850. Neighborhood House Association of Lorain County for social work and translation services. Contract shall not exceed $180,000, effective retroactive to July 1st, 2001 through June 30th, 2002. Funds allocated from the following sources: for TANF, $114,462, GRF, $34,326, and Part C, $31,212. Our Lady of the Wayside to provide transportation. Contract shall not exceed $27,360, effective retroactive to July 1st, 2001 through June 30th, 2002. Funds allocated from the following sources are TANF funds, $17,398, GRF funds, $5,218, and Part C, $4,744. Rehab Services Incorporated for delivery of occupational and physical therapy and speech-language pathology. Contract shall not exceed $8,393, effective retroactive to July 1st, 2001 through June 30th, 2002. Funds allocated from the following sources are TANF funds, $5,337, GRF funding, $1,601, and Part C, $1,455. Lincoln Counseling Center for consultative assessment, family counseling, and social work. Contract shall not exceed $64,466, effective retroactive to July 1st, 2001 through June 30th, 2002. Funds allocated from the following sources are TANF funding, $40,994, GRF funding, $12,294, and Part C, $11,178. Last item for Lorain City Health Department for outreach, child find, intake, and referral, procedural safeguards, prenatal visits, newborn home visits, service coordination, IFSP development, implementation and review, and evaluation. Contract shall not exceed $254,736, effective retroactive to July 1st, 2001 through June 30th, 2002. Funds allocated from the following sources are TANF funding, $161,987, GRF funding, $48,578, and Part C, $44,171. Now, these above contracts were reviewed and recommended for approval by the Children and Families Council.
On item number C, Madam Clerk, you did not read a not to exceed amount, and I believe that that should be $141,519, which is the total of the TANF, the GRF, and Part C. All the rest of them had a not to exceed amount. Okay. I'll move for approval.
Oh, shouldn't she have to read it all over now?
Oh.
No. Absolutely not.
Okay, I'll second it then.
Juan, Mr. Cordez, whoever.
Well, I did want Juan to be given an opportunity
Yes.
to speak on this
Thank you.
issue.
Mr. Juan Molina Crespo, the Director of our Children and Families Council.
Good morning,
Juan.
Commissioners. Juan Molina Crespo, Lorain County Children and Families Council. That's MOLINACRESPO. The 11 contracts that have just been presented to the Commissioners is the final result of about 8 months of very hard, intensive negotiations and work, not only with the vendors that are listed here, but also considerable members of the Commissioner's staff, as well as Mary Lugosi's staff. This is the final product of the Help Me Grow initiative that you've been hearing so much about over the past year or so. The contracts now authorize these vendors to actually deliver the services as been outlined by the state regulations and as specified in the deliverables of these contracts. I'm just happy that we're at this point, I've got to tell you.
I bet you are.
It's been a long, long summer and spring with this. I don't know if there's any questions in particular, but I would like to recognize Peggy Thorpe, who's here from Mary Lou's Golski's department. She was instrumental in making sure that regarding the contracts and the budgeting, that we were doing everything in accordance with the TANF regulations, and I'd like to recognize her and thank her for her help on that, although at times those meetings were quite testy.
Peggy, did you have any comments you'd like to make? All right. She did roll her eyes appropriately, though. Okay. The total of these contracts is almost $1.3 million.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Just a note of clarification. Under G, Neighborhood House Association, that should also read child find and outreach, service coordination, IFSP development, and home visitation services, and that was left out of their brief description.
Child find, ISP, and what else?
IFSP development and review, service coordination, child find and outreach.
You got that, Roxanne? Okay. Ask that that be included in the motion
Okay.
for approval. Is that all right with
Yeah,
you?
that's fine.
Commissioners, Juan did point out another issue that I think this is the first time we've had this many contracts. You're used to administering a lot fewer contracts, so you have your hands pretty well full with these 11 contracts, right? I mean, there's a lot more work for your staff.
That's right, Mr. Cortez. Last year, with these same types of programs, we had 4 contracts. This year, we're up to 11 just under this program initiative. We still have our other programs that you're quite aware of, the Wellness Block Grant, where we anticipate another 6 contracts under Wellness Block Grant. We have the Children's Trust Fund with 2 contracts, and we have anticipated funding from the Nord Family Foundation for the Parent Leadership Training Institute, which will also give us approximately another 2 contracts. So, yes, sir.
Also, some weeks ago, we had some issues with funding, and we worked those out. And over the past 4 to 8 weeks, I got to tell the board that things have really improved significantly over with Children Family First, and I'm really very, very satisfied with the work that's coming out of there. And then Juan has really rolled up his sleeves under some very difficult conditions and gotten quite a bit of things done over there, so I just want to point that out.
Thank you, both Mr.
you.
Cortez and Juan, for your help cooperatively.
Thank you.
Our resident legal advisor has a question or comment?
No, I am not your resident legal advisor.
Yeah, you are, Shirley.
Shirley R. Johnson, Oberlin. I just have one question. I'm sorry to have a question since these negotiations were so difficult, but how are these contracts monitored now that they have finally been negotiated?
I think that's a very good question, and Juan can respond to that. Or Jim, which, okay.
We, the contracts, the vendors are expected to submit monthly reports, Ms. Johnson. Those reports will identify the individuals that are served under each category of funding that's listed here, the TANF, GRF, and Part C funding. We also this year have access to the CRISI system, which allows the council staff to access the database and tells us prior to even conducting any services whether or not those individuals are eligible to even receive the services. So the monitoring will happen on the program side through the monthly program report, the daily review of the CRISI system. In addition to that, we have a financial report, an invoice that will be attached to the program report. And the staff at the council staff will make sure that those units that are being charged against this contract are indeed eligible units using those mechanisms that I had just stated.
Thank you, Juan. Madam
Thank
Clerk?
you.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
To authorize the appointment of Jeff Fote as member of the Lorain County Board of Mental Health for a 4-year term effective October 11, 2001, expiring October 10, 2005.
I believe we need to
Can
review
we table this for next week? Thanks.
Okay. Comments, Mr. Cortez?
I have a few brief issues this morning. But the first one is, I have a question for Madam Clerk. What happened to our issue on 611 under old business?
I thought we put that on for 2 weeks. It'll be for next week, because Mary Jo, Commissioner Basser's going to be off.
Her concerns have, I'm not sure if the board is aware, but the Village of Sheffield did pass their resolution to enter into that project. Her concern on the issue was that they may or may not consummate that relationship up there. I understand that's been accomplished, and I thought possibly we could move forward on our commitment to the 611 project. But if we want to wait till next week, I'm sure...
I thought we already made our commitment on the 611.
Well, we made our commitment. The issue under discussion last week was the final contract. I had reported to the board that I had reviewed the contract and it was in conformity with the resolution of intent passed by the board some months ago. Commissioner Bassi had some concerns that the relationship would not be completed between Sheffield Village and the City of Lorain. It's my understanding since that time that the village has, probably reluctantly so, agreed to go ahead absent some issues that were missing in Lorain Council's resolution. And I just wanted to complete our portion of that. My mistake, I had thought that it'd be under old business this week. I apologize. I'm sure we can deal with it next week, another week.
Sure.
Won't.
Okay, because we've taken the lead on this pretty well, I thought. I mean,
Yes, we
I don't
have.
want us to be lagging behind it, though. What are you looking for right now? Just the...
Well, I would have wanted to have passed a resolution entering into that contract.
Need a resolution for that, even though we already passed a resolution to do so?
That's correct, sir.
Okay.
Once again, we can wait till next week. It's my error. I was just...
It's not going to slow the project up any, is it?
I don't think so.
Okay.
The second issue is I've been informed that we're continuing to have some problems with our email. It came to my attention this week that we need some antivirus software. This is what's causing us a tremendous amount of difficulty with our system. I'm going to pass you a purchase requisition in the amount of $8,282 to purchase Norton antivirus licenses and antivirus CDs for our computers. We've reached a level where we're just not able to function, and we need the software to do that. I only received this late yesterday afternoon, and I don't want to wait another week and continue to have the problems. If the board would be inclined to purchase this software.
What about that? Jim?
Well, unfortunately, some of these notes don't have initials.
Okay, this software has been recommended by our IT department.
Did you write that?
That's not his handwriting.
No, that was a note that was just put on it for my attention. But it originated down in our IT department.
So they're recommending it?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
And I spoke to our new director this morning, and I also spoke to Karen this morning, and they're both recommending this.
Okay.
I'm just passing it for you. You don't need to sign it. We get a resolution.
We need licensing.
Correct.
Well, it's virus protection, too.
Yes, but we need licensing.
Licensing for
as
each
well.
virus one, yeah.
We don't have any virus protection right now.
Then I'll so move.
I'll second.
Okay.
Any more discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
I also would like to take this opportunity to recognize our new ombudsman. I asked him to come to the meeting, and possibly give him an opportunity to present himself at the podium so people can learn who he is.
Good morning, Larry. Where are
Good
you?
morning.
Would you like to come to the podium and just tell us your name and how glad you are to be working for Lorain County?
My name is Larry Allen. I'm the new county ombudsman. My office at the present time is located here in this this building here. My phone number is 329-5488. If you need me, give me a call. Doors open. That's about all I want to say.
Thank you.
Could Jim explain what the ombudsman services are? Since he is-
Well, I can. The ombudsman acts as a link to the community, a liaison, so to speak, with issues that of concern to constituents or end users of our services. Sometimes it's just a communication issue or a direction issue. Somebody doesn't know where to go to receive what they would like to receive or a service that they need, and the ombudsman is there to assist them with those issues and try to ensure that their needs are met. Sometimes people just want to blow off a little steam too, and the ombudsman tends to listen to disgruntled constituents occasionally that just want to be heard, and then shares that information as needed with the board.
And also part of his job is dealing with the Lorain County Department of Job and Family First issues specifically?
Correct, and that would be the end users of services if they have problems with what's being provided to them. Correct.
Okay.
And actually, I guess I downplayed that too much. That is a significant portion of the ombudsman job, is to be a direct link between the utilizers of services at Jobs and Family Services so that they are adequately, their needs are adequately met.
Sometimes just being a troubleshooter helps.
Yeah.
Welcome, Larry.
Welcome aboard.
I have no further issues except to reiterate my request for the executive session for the, as detailed earlier.
Okay, Assistant County Prosecutor, Mr. Ennis?
Well, I'm not sure between Mrs. Johnson and Mr. Cortez if I'm out of a job. But, after their presentations, I don't have anything else to say.
Okay, Commissioners report?
I have none.
I just want to share this plaque that I got on Saturday at the Avon Lake Homecoming Festival. They had a homecoming parade, and it was kind of nasty and cold and wet, and we were in the parade, and it was nice, and when I went to the grandstand, they gave me one of these. So thank you again, Avon Lake. This is the second time. Pass out plaques.
Plaques, cool.
All right. Yeah, that was very nice. They had a nice crowd.
Any old business? I have a reminder, we have a scheduled administrative briefing for Tuesday, October 16th at 9:30 a.m. here in the hearing room. New business?
None?
I have none.
Board correspondence?
I move the reading be waived.
Second?
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Our continued public hearing is scheduled for 10:30. Is there a public comment from the audience at this time? Anyone who wishes to speak? Elizabeth Rumix, good morning.
Good morning. Elizabeth Rumix, Oberlin, R-U-M-I-C-S. This is just a comment. I happened to tune in last evening to a PBS program on urban sprawl and its causes and consequences and perhaps amelioration in something called New Urbanism. It caught my attention particularly because of the county's long-range land use plan. There was a section about how to keep cities, or rather how to keep suburbanization from eating up farmland and ways to deal with that. And I just simply wanted to mention the program as a very interesting national one, which a number of people might see repeated at some particular time. And given the efforts of Lorain and Elyria cities to revitalize downtown, it seemed a particularly interesting thing to see how other communities were trying to address the problems.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Bob Kish?
Madam President, Commissioner, member, and members of the committee, the press, television, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 members in the audience.
You're using up your 3 minutes fast.
That's okay. I don't have much to say. I thought it was 5 minutes.
Ah, 3.
Nope. 3? I'm going to get a timer.
5. You only get 3.
Okay. Many years ago, a teacher told me, or I heard, if at first you don't succeed, try again. And I did. Somebody else in that vein stated he didn't know it couldn't be done, so he did it.
I like that.
Thank you. I am pleased to announce receipt of the first 2 videotapes, copies, that I have tried and tried again for. Somebody else said, and I think you know who, trust but verify.
Oh, yeah.
It does not bother me that, well, let's see. Okay, trust but verify. If passed as prologue, I propose that a duplicate copy be placed in the Washington Avenue branch archives because this very building, this site, was destroyed by fire in the past.
Sure was.
And if there's only one copy that's here, it should be archived. On top of that, I don't know how many tapes you'd want to make. There are quite a few libraries in the county. You might want to go ahead and place a copy or 2 that can be, if people requested them, such as a book, they could be viewed through the library. Okay, after that, someone else said, and I just read this recently, it does not bother me that you lied to me. What bothers me is that I can no longer trust you. Thank you.
You got your
Bye.
tapes. You tell me you don't trust? You got your
It
tapes.
took a while, man.
Oh, time. You're in government time. Come on now, Bob.
Those are very...
As an air traffic controller, it was first be safe,
Oh, come on, Bob. You
then
finally-
orderly,
You got your tapes. So
then
come on.
expeditious.
You should be nice.
I like your comments this morning, and I think that was a worthwhile suggestion about archiving those tapes at the library. And I asked the administrator to look into that.
If I may just comment for a moment on that issue. We are not keeping our official records on these tapes. The tapes are not going to be kept for a very long period of time. They're merely here as a convenience. I don't know. I think the idea, if we were using them as our official record, is a good one. But I don't think that we're going to be doing that at this time. And I'm a little concerned that if we do want to move into a different medium, that it should not be videotape in this day and age. If we decide that we want to archive media data, we should do it on a CD.
Digital format or something.
In a digital format. Thank you, Commissioner. Tape is so vulnerable to misuse and destruction. So if there was going to be any issue of moving in that direction, we should explore at least 20th century, if not 21st century technology to accomplish that goal.
So you're going to put that on your list of things to do?
I wasn't planning on it, but I guess I just did.
Yeah, thanks. Anyone else who wants to? Shirley Johnson?
Shirley R. Johnson, Oberlin. I'm not really prepared to speak on that subject, but permanent records of various governmental bodies are very important. They're very important historically. If you've ever had to look up the past to find out something that happened in the past, as I once had to do in relation to the college, Oberlin College's relationship to the public library, you find that the minutes practically said nothing, so you didn't know. You couldn't really get at the facts, and it's very important. And several years ago, there was a decision made in Hamilton County about the county commissioners' minutes there not being adequate, and that's one of the decisions that was made to ask that most governmental bodies have content in their minutes so that one can look at and see what your thinking was and when you made a decision and so on. So if your minutes are not going to include some of those things or enough of those things, then some new technological record needs to be available. And Mr. Cortez is correct that these things change over time, and I don't know what the proper method is, but it's worth looking into. Thank you.
It is, and I wasn't attempting, and I appreciate what you're saying, to diminish the issue. For the record, we do keep our meetings on audio tape, so we do maintain a large volume of data, and we do maintain the audio tapes right now. Is that correct, Madam Clerk? And I think that was subsequent to those rulings in Cincinnati that we started maintaining those audio tapes to expand or amplify the written record, because you're right, at times you cannot, don't have the ability to put the whole amount of discussion into the written record. But I'll look into those issues. If we were going to make them available, though, we would most likely make them available at our record center. And I don't know if anybody's aware of it, but we do have a record center, and there is information that can be retrieved now by our staff out there. We are in the digital stage out there. We're still using filming equipment, but we are moving into digital and electronic mediums out at the record center. So if you're looking for archive records, it's a good place to start, and we'll be continuing to promote and expand the county's record department.
Could I comment also that our commissioners meeting, the journal minutes, the books are sent to the Historical Society in Cleveland, the actual books, but we do have them on the microfilm tapes as well at the record center. We have two copies, one here and one there.
So there's an alternate site where those are stored.
Right, and we usually keep 3 years up here of the journal.
10 years we've been keeping.
Up here at that? Okay, so we keep 10 and everything prior to that's out at the record center. Okay.
Thank you. And Bob, you had an additional...
Yeah, since it's only been a month ago, the tragedy that we had in New York, are the audio tapes archived?
that's a good question.
They're just kept here.
The audio tapes are kept in this building in a lock cabinet, Bob, to respond to that. I think you have an issue now, too.
I'm sorry? Oh, okay. All right. Probably we need to look into that. All right, any other public comment? I move we go into executive session for the purposes outlined by the administrator, but to convene promptly at 10:30. If we're finished, fine. If not, we can continue.
Okay.
Afterwards?
I'll second.
Okay.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
To reconvene this meeting of the Lorain County Board of Commissioners. This is a continued hearing on the proposed annexation of approximately 7.64 acres in Carlisle Township to the city of Elyria. Attorney Garrett Murray acting on behalf of Robert Yost, agent trustee for the Robert Yost Trust. The first public hearing was scheduled and held on Thursday, August 16th at 11 a.m. Commissioner Blair read a brief statement on the proposed annexation. Assistant Prosecutor Jerry Ennis administered an oath to everyone making testimony. Commissioner Blair conducted the hearing asking for comments from Attorney Murray, the county engineer, township trustees, and anyone expressing their opposition to or approval to this annexation. Attorney Murray indicated the reason for this annexation request is that Mr. Yost is the president of D'Angelo's Construction and officer of Highland Development, and he has constructed homes in this area for over 35 years, and the subject land that is being requested will be used for single-family residence. Attorney Murray discussed the project in detail and cited various court cases on annexation of this nature. Various representatives from the city of Elyria were also present. The commissioners requested the prosecutor's office work with the township and the city on the possibility of negotiating an agreement with the city on the southeast interceptor sewer. Attorney Al Schrader, representing Carlisle Township, said he had numerous questions, but his understanding of these discussions would be to continue this hearing and during said time work out an agreement. Attorney Schrader's argument is that the city already has an arrangement to provide sewer service with the agreement they entered into in 1998, and the city of Elyria's ordinance from 1993 does not say at all they would not provide sewers outside the annexed area. It only says they would give first priority. The 7.64 acres of land will be residentially developed and does not see that this will make or break the city's financial situation for a few more residents. Eric Rodgary, Elyria's Safety Service Director, indicated that the city would entertain talks in trying to work with the townships on currently developed properties, and he does not believe there is an attempt of the current administration or the feeling from council that the city would want to provide sewers to undeveloped lands in the township. He has certain some interest to trying to work something out so the developed properties already in the townships could remain in the township and be provided with the city of Elyria sewer systems. Commissioner Blair requested this board would like to continue the hearing until October the 11th at 10:30 a.m. All parties were in agreement. Resolution 1-779 was adopted to continue this hearing until October 11th at 10:30 a.m. At this time, I believe that we will again ask the assistant prosecutor to administer the oath to anyone who will be giving testimony, either for or against or speaking in any fashion. So if you would please stand and be administered the oath of office.
Do each of you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give today shall be the truth, that you shall answer unto God or on the penalty of the law of perjury?
Attorney Murray, would you care to address the board with further comments?
Good morning. My name is Garrett Murray. My address is 120 East Avenue, Elyria, Ohio. And this is a continuation of the hearing of August 16th, 2001. And because it's almost 2 months since we were here, I'd like to refresh our memory as to some of the facts, comment on a few points that were brought up at that meeting, and then ask some representatives to make some statements on behalf of the applicant. And as the record indicated, I represent Robert Yost, who is the agent for Robert Yost, trustee of the Robert Yost Trust. And we're talking about the request to rezone 7.64 acres of land from Carlisle Township to the city of Elyria. You will recall that I provided you with maps. Two important maps were, one was the colored aerial photo of the area, and the second one was the City of Elyria map, which is significant because it has the corporate lines of the city on it. And then the third map was the map used for the petition for annexation. But we established that this property is on the north side of East River Road. It's south of Robin Park subdivision, south of Songbird Street, and it's east of Sandpiper Street, which intersects with East River Road and is in Elyria. We indicated that this parcel adjoins the city of Elyria on the north on 264 feet, and that line is the rear of lots which face onto Songbird. Our parcel has 532.89 feet of frontage along East River Road. So if you look at the photo that I provided, to the north is the line that adjoins the city of Elyria. This street is called Songbird. Another important street for further reference is Sandpiper. And Sandpiper intersects with East River. And as you can see from that map, the corporate line extends to the rear of the lots on Sandpiper and then goes along East River and down East River. So this map is important because it does show that corporate line. Commissioner Vasey raised the question about the two parcels that are immediately west of the territory to be annexed. And again, if you look at that map, you will see that there are two parcels to the west of our parcel. Those two parcels lie between my client's westerly line and the corporate line of the city of Elyria. Those two parcels consist of a 1.13 acre parcel and a 3.15 acre parcel. Those two parcels remain in the township. The question was raised whether those two parcels create an island, and I indicate to you then and now that they do not create an island. They do create a peninsula, meaning that the city of Elyria will be on their west, on the north, and on the east. Our parcel would be a peninsula insofar as Carlisle Township would surround it on three parcels. I think the law in Ohio is pretty clear about the fact about islands. Islands of themselves do not defeat annexation unless it was found to be that the creation of them was illogical, unreasonable, or arbitrary. And also, the same applies for the creation of peninsulas. In and of itself, as long as they are not arbitrary or unreasonable, they will not defeat annexation. There was one case in which the annexation created a peninsula of 100 feet wide and a mile long, and it was surrounded on three sides by the city, and that was found not to be arbitrary or unreasonable. If you take a look at that aerial photo and proceed down East River and look at the corporate line, you will see that about maybe 5 or 6 parcels down from Sandpiper, the city line goes to the north, and then it goes to the west, and that is a peninsula.
Sorry.
Okay.
We're retrieving the aerial photo, Garrett.
Pardon me?
We're retrieving the aerial photo.
You keep talking about we don't have it.
Oh, you don't have it?
She's going to get it right now.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I
Wasn't
didn't
in the
mean to.
packet.
We have the smaller one.
Yeah, you can continue. Is that okay?
Go ahead.
Okay, well, when you get that area...
Yes, we're going to look at it.
You'll let your finger down, go down East River, and about maybe 6, 7, or 8 lots west of Sandpiper, you'll see that the corporate line then goes again to the north and then to the west, and then it comes back down to East River. And that is a peninsula that has been on East River. If you proceed a little bit further down the road, you'll find that from Aspen Court from Aspen Court, there's a small street there. I think it's called Spyglass. That area also, where my client lives, Aspen Court, that also is a peninsula. And then if you go further down East River, from that area all the way to the corporate line to Calland Drive, that also is a peninsula bounded on 3 sides by the city of Elyria. So peninsulas along East River are not that unusual. And as testimony is going to show, services to that area has not caused any problem or any confusion. The question was also raised regarding the procedure of extending sewers from the city of Elyria down East River. There was a question about East River Road. East River Road is a township road. East River Road has a right-of-way of 60 feet. The paved portion of East River Road is about 22 to 24 feet wide. The extension of sanitary sewer along East River from Sandpiper to my client's property, which is maybe approximately 500 feet. That would be done in the road right-of-way. The question was asked whether the sewer would be put in the property owner's yard, and it would not be. It would be in the road right-of-way. The question was also raised as to it would be the expense of the property owners there, and if my client brought the sewer from Sandpiper to his property, then that would be at the expense of the developer and not at those, in that particular case, to the 2 property owners that are west of his property. Likewise, if the sewer is extended down East River from Sandpiper to Dewhurst Road, that again would be at the expense of the city of Elyria. The Board of Commissioners, there was also a question raised about the permit that is required if you go excavate into a township road right-of-way. And the Board of Commissioners, by Resolution 91-319, authorized Lorain County Engineers Office to issue various permits for utilities for individuals having the need to occupy right-of-way along a township road. And this was a request of the county engineer, because back in '91 he had 44 and 50 applications a year to excavate in the road right-of-way. The engineer has a highway use permit application that is filled out by the developer or any other person that wants to go into the road right-of-way. I have brought copies of that with me today, and I'd like to present that to you.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Regarding your statement previous to this one, you said that the developer is going to be paying the cost of the sewer going through the west property. That's you said to the west of this property?
It would go along the road right away, not in those two property owners, not into their property.
It's going to go in the right-of-way?
In the right-of-way. The right-of-way is 60 feet.
Right.
Paved portion is 22 to 24 feet wide.
Still going through their front yards though, correct? In the right-of-way? Or is it going on the...
It was in the road right-of-way, and then the sewer is laid, and then the land is replaced as it was previously.
Would these individuals have the ability to tap into that at that point? Or
Well, I was going to indicate to you in the course of the presentation that that the Safety Service Director would be willing to recommend to council that these two property owners that are between our property and the corporate line would have the right to tap into the sanitary sewer service if it was brought by my client to his property.
at no cost, or would there be a tap-in?
There's a usual tap-in fee. Your agreement with City of Lorain and Carlisle Township back in June 1 of 2000, that set forth the tap-in fees. So,
okay. Thank you.
The City of Elyria and County Commissioners and the Township Trustees have cooperated in the past regarding the extension of the Southeast Interceptor Sewer along East River Road, and that was brought up at our previous meeting on August 16th. That agreement was for the Southeast Interceptor to proceed along East River, Chestnut Ridge Road, Fuller Road, and 19th Street, and that was by agreement on June 1 of 2001. I don't think from conversations with the representatives of the City of Elyria that there isn't any reason to believe that when an application for a permit is filed with the county engineers for extension into Carlisle Township with a sewer, that that the City of Elyria would not be willing to sit down and talk with the county commissioners and the township trustees, as you did on the June 1st, 2001 meeting. At the August 16th meeting here, the Safety Service Director for the city indicating a willingness to work with the board, township trustees, providing sanitary sewer service to develop parcels in Carlisle Township in the future. The important fact for my client and the general good of his territory is that the sanitary sewer services are available from Elyria, as well as police, fire, garbage collection, which are the same services that are provided for Elyria residents. Regarding Ordinance 9345, which was the ordinance passed by the City of Elyria back in 1993, that indicated that it was a policy of Elyria that sanitary sewer services would be provided first to the residents of the City of Elyria. With annexation, my client would be able to obtain sanitary sewer service from Elyria, and without annexation, that would not be available. I indicated at our last meeting, and I call to your attention again, that the subject premises will be developed by my client for the construction of single-family residences. I think it's important. I hope you found your color photo. Have you?
Yeah, thank you.
I think it's important to look at the piece that we're asking for annexation, and then look at the surrounding area, which is heavily built with residential houses, and that's to the north and to the west of the subject property. There's been a lot of development on the east side of Chestnut Ridge Road by Mr. Elbert and also by my client's company. But for my client's property, as far as sanitary sewers were concerned, we had indicated that there would be installation, could be installation three ways. One was by the installation of a lift station with a 3-inch forced main back to the manhole, which is located on Sandpiper and and East River. And the second one was by the extension of the southeast sanitary sewer from Greenbrier and Robin Park subdivision east to Dewhurst, which the engineer at the last meeting indicated that that would be the case maybe within the next 12 and 18 months.
Garrett, where is Greenbrier on here? I know where Dewhurst is. Where is
Yeah, point there,
Greenbrier?
Matt, we'll kind of hop up on.
Well, actually, Greenbrier is a development east of Chestnut Ridge.
On the other
Really, I'm
side.
talking about the southeast interceptor sewer comes to a point at near the intersection of Sandpiper and East River.
Okay.
I mentioned Greenbrier because it went through Greenbrier, serviced Greenbrier and Robin Park. So it's right there at Sandpiper and East River. So you can see the proximity it is to my client's property for purposes of extension. And we also talked that it's in the plans for the city of Elyria to go to Dewhurst Road. And if that would be the case, my client, and if he was in the city of Elyria, he could tap into that sewer. The third way would be by an easement. You can see that northerly portion of our annex parcel. That adjoins the city of Elyria and adjoins some lots that face onto a Songbird. And there is a sewer, of course, at Songbird, and he could tap into that sewer at that point and by an easement come into his parcel and service his property. Now, the parcel is, as we said, 7.64 acres, and according to the 1990 census of Carlisle Township has 15,744 acres, and we are asking for the annexation of 7.64 acres. And 7.64 of 15,000 is 0.000485.7%. And if I may approach the bench, I'd like to bring up that census.
Thank you. Jerry, this is the ordinance, resolution. I'm going to give it back to Roxanne. That was gotta watch you all the time. Thank you, Garrett. Yes, thank you for providing it.
The other important point that I'd like to point out, I've already touched on it, but more specifically that our parcel is only 465 feet from the Elyria City corporate limits on East River Road. So it adjoins on the north, and it's 465 feet from the corporate line of the city of Elyria, and that proximity is important when you consider the appropriateness of this request for annexation of this parcel. I also pointed out that from that aerial photo that you now have in front of you, you can see how close this parcel is to the Elyria residential neighborhood, which is north of the parcel. And so it fits in to the territory. There is no question, as the testimony will show, that the city of Elyria can provide services to this parcel with their fire department and their police department. At the last meeting, we did cite some cases regarding the law, and I'm not going to cite them again, but I just want to refresh your memory on the salient points. And that is that the legislature has given my client the right by law to petition for the annexation to an adjoining municipality. We also point out that the legislature by 709-033 and by amendments has set the standard for the board commissioners that they must apply to definite factual determinations. And the whole crux and point of annexation is the general good of the territory. That's really what the focus is on. And general good of the territory means, has been interpreted to mean the general good of the owners and the inhabitants as to what they would like to do with where they would like to have their property. The word territory also means, as reference to owners and inhabitants. So the ultimate focus is on the general good of the territory sought to be annexed. The desires and the intentions of the owners as to the good of the territory sought to be annexed has been determined to be given much greater weight and consideration than those of other residents of the township. And one of the cases that I have previously cited indicated that one of the reasons for the legislative policies of 709-033 was to give the owner the freedom of choice as to the governmental subdivision as to which he desires to live. The question of the policy of the City of Elyria by ordinance number 9345 to restrict sanitary sewer services to the residents of the city has been raised, and that I feel should only have an effect on my client in the fact that he must annex to the City of Elyria if he feels the general good of his parcel requires sanitary sewer services and other services from the City of Elyria. And as I mentioned, the focus of annexation is on the parcel to be annexed. Whether Elyria should or should not extend sewers into the township is a policy decision of the City of Elyria, over which my client has no say. I don't know whether the Elyria's policy on sewers comes under the consideration of Section 709-033, except that sanitary sewers can be extended by annexation. What negotiation comes between the county, the township, and the City of Elyria regarding the extension of sewers, my client has no control. It is clear that the city has expressed a willingness, however, to consider a grant of some sanitary sewer services to develop property in the future, and that willingness has been evidenced in the past by your agreement of June 1, 2000. One of the original intent of the legislature, if you read some of the cases, is that enacting annexation, part of it was so that municipalities could expand their border. But I feel that it's not my client's fight, and that issue should not really be visited upon him. I guess it's a policy decision that townships, they don't want to lose land, and that cities have a policy that they would like to gain land. And the question is brought up by the annexation. At this particular time, I'd just like to call a couple people for comments regarding our proposal. I'd like to ask Greg Castle to come. Okay, Greg, would you, for the record, would you state your name and address?
Sure. I'm Assistant Chief Greg Castle. I'm the Assistant Fire Chief for the City of Elyria. The address is 330 East Broad Street, Central Fire Station.
Okay, and you say that your position is Assistant Chief?
That's correct.
Could you indicate the little facts about the Elyria Fire Department? For example, the number of fire stations that you have?
We have 4 fire stations, approximately 70 personnel, 4 pumpers, a ladder truck, a rescue truck. We provide emergency medical service, basic life support, and that is augmented by Life Care Ambulance as our paramedic service.
Are you familiar with the parcel that we're talking about today?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And can you explain how you would respond, how would the fire department respond if there was a fire or an emergency in that 7.64 acre parcel?
Are you talking about the route?
Yes. Where would the vehicles come from?
In the case of a fire, we would respond from the Central Fire Station on East Broad Street. That response would normally be out East Broad Street to Abbey Road, down Abbey Road to Chestnut Street, and to the subject site through Robin Park. The main bulk of the department would respond from Cedar Street Fire Station. They would respond to East River Street, straight out East River all the way. And we would also have a response from our Abbey Road Fire Station, which is on North Abbey Road, which would come down the bypass to Dewhurst.
Okay. And do you have any idea what the time factor might be?
Yeah, we do have a pretty good track record. We have a young lady in the area that has recurring medical problems, and we've been responding down there for about 2 years. I've got 7 cases where we have average response time of about 6.2 minutes for the first responders.
Okay, now, we pointed out that this area is very close to the city of Elyria, and there are there are also some peninsulas of township property. Has the fire department experienced any confusion as to location of a property?
Sure. That's one of our biggest headaches, always has been, probably always will be, just due to the way properties are annexed. When you have a couple properties in the city, a couple properties out of the city, it always creates headaches for us trying to determine exactly who's in and who's out. Fortunately, the problem has lessened a little bit in the last 10, 15 years since we have the countywide mutual aid program. It's not as much of a concern any longer as far as stepping on other jurisdictions' toes. We all get along pretty good, and if there is confusion, we go and answer the questions later.
Do you have shifts as far as the firemen is concerned? How many are on the shift at all times?
On shift, we have a daily minimum of 17 personnel on duty at all times. Normally, on a house fire, 13 of those 17 would go on the first alarm.
Okay, do you have any, is there any question in your mind that the city of Elyria, through its fire department, can provide adequate fire service to this area?
No question at all. We're in the area now, and we're doing a fine job.
You want to ask me a question?
Just a couple questions. Hi, Chief. Al Schrader. How you doing? Good to meet you. You mentioned mutual aid. Now, does that mean that if there's a fire in the township, that by way of the mutual aid contract, you will help now fight a fire in the township even without annexation?
If they request our services.
And that works the other way, too. If you need their help, the township fire department will help you. Is that right?
Absolutely.
And does the township fire department do a pretty good job?
Yes, they do.
How about with their paramedic or ambulance service?
I'm not familiar with exactly what their paramedic level is. I believe they provide basic life support the same as us.
Okay. So you help each other back and forth?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. And you do that without annexation?
Yes.
Okay. So if somebody in the parcel to be annexed right now, as it exists in the township, needed an ambulance or a fire truck, and Elyria Township Fire Department asked for help, you'd provide it now without annexation, right?
If Carlisle, you meant?
Yeah, what did I say, Elyria?
You said Elyria Township.
I'm sorry, I meant Carlisle Township. If they asked for your help, you'd provide it now without annexation. Is that right?
That's correct.
Thanks, Chief.
You bet.
Have a good day.
I would like to ask a few questions of Eric Rothgary.
Good morning, Eric.
Good morning. Eric Rothgary, Safety Service Director, City of Elyria. 145 Canterbury Road.
Hey, Eric, I'd like you, if you could, comment a little bit on the size of the Elyria Police Department, number of employees, number of vehicles.
Okay, Elyria Police Department, I think, as most people know, is probably one of the best equipped, best staffed, best trained police departments for any city our size in the state of Ohio. We currently have 93 sworn officers. We schedule a minimum of 23, approximately 23 per shift, call in on, or 23 per day. Patrolmen call in on overtime if we hit a minimum of 18. Also included in there would be a lieutenant on every shift, a road sergeant on every shift, a number of people in the Detective Bureau as well as the Narcotics Bureau that are working in and amongst the regular road patrols. We also have 2 dispatchers on per shift, a fully staffed 24-hour-a-day records room, and a fully staffed jail facility, 48 beds.
Is there any question in your mind whether the City of Elyria Police Department has the capability to provide service to this proposed annex parcel?
We absolutely can provide services to those areas.
And you are familiar with the areas surrounding that?
Absolutely.
Robin Park, etc.?
A good number of our police officers live there.
Okay, so you are already providing services to them. Do the police officers take their vehicles home?
Yes, they do.
You heard me state your position as far as providing services, sanitary services.
You characterized my positions correctly. Okay. Thank you.
Hi, Eric. Just a few. I'm Al Schrader. You're familiar with the police service provided by the Lorain County Sheriff, are you not?
Fairly familiar.
Do a pretty good job as far as you know?
With the manpower that they have, I think everybody would admit that manpower is determined by finances, and the Sheriff's Department has a large area to cover with a limited number of personnel. I believe that the Sheriff's Department, one of their main functions is providing security for the courts, and they do that very high level. I think it's very difficult for them to cover some of the road patrols with the wide area that they have here in Lorain County.
You get any personal knowledge of how they're doing as far as providing police service to the area we're talking about annexing?
Well, I would say that area is a fairly safe area to begin with. Okay, I'm not aware of any complaints one way or the other.
Okay, so there hasn't been a defect in police service to that area we're talking about annexing, as far as you know?
I'm not aware of any problems.
Okay.
No.
You're a safety service director, right?
Correct.
Now, have you heard any reports or complaints from the policemen about some confusion when there's a peninsula or boundary change as far as who has jurisdiction?
We're pretty up to date. I mean, we're fully computerized. The calls come in through the dispatchers with constantly updated maps and addresses, and I don't think that we really have a problem with it.
I guess the question was, though, have you heard any complaints from the officers about that?
No.
Okay.
No.
And your ordinance with regard to providing sewer and water service outside the city, it doesn't say you won't do it, it just says you give a priority to city residents, is that right?
I haven't read it today, but I think that's correct, yes.
Okay. And are there areas of the city that don't have sewer and water right now?
Yes.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Did you have a question? Excuse me, I think Mr. Ennis had a question.
Yes, I would like to ask Mr. Rothgary. Mr. Murray indicated that the city has a willingness to consider allowing the landowners to tie in. I would remind the commissioners that a few years back we have had a problem with getting sewers tied in and the representations of safety service directors without council action. So I would like to ask Mr. Rothgary, do you have any official action by way of ordinance on behalf of the city council whereby they would agree to allow these property owners to tie in?
Absolutely not. All I can say is that I would be happy to suggest it, support it, and help with it moving through council, but I certainly can't bind the council on what they would do.
Thank you.
I wanted to piggyback on Mr. Ennis's question. Exactly which property owners are we talking about? I mean, Garrett made that comment, and I made a note. It wasn't clear to me just exactly what property owners you were talking about, and if in fact the city was interested in that, perhaps that could include the property owners who are petitioning for annexation, as long as the question's been asked.
What I stated was that Mr. Rothgary indicated to me that he would be willing to recommend to council that the annexation was completed and the sewer was extended from Sandpiper to my client as one of the three alternatives, that that he would recommend to council that those two property owners to the immediate west of my client's property would be able to tap into that sanitary sewer if they so desired.
Okay, that just included those two property owners.
Right, that would be that short piece. Now, if the sanitary sewer is extended to Dewhurst, as the engineering department indicated within the next 12 to 18 months, then they have to go down East River, down the right-of-way, and then they would have to fill out an application for a permit, and as you indicated before, they would talk to the county commissioners. The county commissioners signed that June 1, 2000 agreement with the city of Elyria, so they would have to get their permit from the engineer, which ultimately you have say-so over.
Am I to understand the sewer that you're talking about? You did say, I want to clarify, it comes down Sandpiper. It does not come down East River to the west?
The tie-in, Sandpiper and...
The tie-in is at Sandpiper?
The one tie-in would be from Sandpiper to my client's property. It's about 465 feet.
Okay. There is no sewer to the west on East River, to the west of Sandpiper?
No. No, there is no sewer west of...
Come on up here. I have to give your name.
Thank you, Mugind.
My name is Mukund Mogia. I'm assistant city engineer for City of Elyria, 328 Broad Street. Yeah, there is no city sewer on East River west of Sandpiper.
Okay, then where does is the Briarwood Court, which runs off of East River, is that serviced by sewer? It's east of
I brought that other
Chestnut. It's by Aspen Drive. That's off East River. I was just... Thank you, Mr. Yost. It does not have sewer service.
No.
Thank you. Pardon me?
It's all irrigation.
Thank you.
I brought that
Thank you. That answered my question. I was just looking at the area. Yes, please continue, Mr. Murray.
Well, excuse me, that, if I might, that reminds me of one other question I'd like to ask Mr. Roth, if I could.
Mr. Schrader, you need to come to the microphone, please.
I did have one other question. I guess I wanted a couple other questions that I wanted to ask Eric. Eric, what you said is from people that don't live in the township. Now, Mr. Yost, for him to get water and sewer, you want to annex. He needs to annex. Is that right?
Correct.
But you may recommend that two people that live in the township, which is something they have in common, or not live, but have property in the township, something they have in common right now with Mr. Yost, those two folks could hook on to sewer without annexing.
I think we've made clear our intention to, have some consideration to already developed properties, and that would fall in it. And because we are here today discussing these two issues, that's why we're talking about that.
What in your ordinance allows you to treat Yost different than those other two folks?
It doesn't. It has to go by agreement. I mean, we can cut a specific agreement as we did with the commissioners in June of 2001, I believe it was.
So there's nothing in the ordinance itself that would prohibit you from giving water or sewer to Mr. Yost, is that right?
I guess that's your interpretation.
Well, what's your interpretation, Eric?
Our interpretation is that it doesn't allow us to, and it's also our policy. As even if the ordinance wasn't in effect, our policy, which we're allowed to have a policy, would not allow us to provide service to an undeveloped area.
Okay, help me understand something. We're both attorneys. What in the ordinance then
Putting a lot of pressure on me now. Putting a lot of pressure on me now.
Well, I really am. I'm curious, what in the ordinance allows you to say this guy has to annex, and the ordinance requires you to tell him he has to annex? What in that same ordinance then allows you to give these two folks water and sewer without annexing?
Well, council would have to authorize us to go into a specific agreement. I mean, council, as you're well aware, council is king in a city like Elyria. They can create an ordinance for just about anything, and if they want to create an ordinance that allows us to do that, to provide to those two already developed homes, they're free to do that. And all I'm saying is, and Mr. Ennis pointed out, I don't have the authority myself to do it, but I would certainly recommend it.
Okay. Has anybody asked the city council to create an ordinance to allow Yost to get that water and sewer service without annexing?
This specific case, I don't believe so. Many, many times in the past, it's been asked and denied.
But in his case, it hasn't, as far as you know.
Garrett?
In his case, before request for annexation, he has not requested it of council.
Okay, and as far as
because we're aware of council's policy.
Okay. That some folks they give it to and some they don't, if I understand the policy.
No, I think the policy, generally their policy is they don't give it.
Okay.
Recently, I requested council to do it for a piece on Mr. Albert's property, and also the one on where 84 is.
Griswold Road.
On Griswold Road, and in both instances, the council turned us down.
How big is the property on Griswold?
In this particular case, he's saying that he would recommend it to council because of the discussion that has come here, where that there has been some indication that they want the city of Elyria to extend out into the township. So what they're trying to do is work with that intention. They've also had discussions with Elyria Township regarding the same thing.
But again, nobody's introduced an ordinance to provide, seeking to provide water or sewer to Mr. Yost without annexing. That's clear, right?
That's correct.
And the parcel that they were talking about here is what, 7 acres, something like that?
Our parcel?
This parcel?
7.64.
And Albert's is 124 acres, is that right? The one you asked?
I think 100 and maybe 24 was the postcode.
124.
Okay, about 124 in the total annexation. And then the other one you talked about on Grisham Road, my memory's bad.
Griswold Road.
Griswold Road.
That might be like 3 or 4 acres.
Okay. So it's up to council. They can decide, okay, in Yost's case, we're not going to give them annexation without, or we're not going to give them water and sewer without annexing. But in the case of these two folks, we'll let them have water and sewer without annexing.
I can't commit to it. That's what council would do.
He would recommend it.
I can recommend.
Okay.
But that is coming about because of the spirit of trying to cooperate and do what the commissioners have been talking about.
I guess I'm trying to figure out how come you can cooperate with two folks over here, but you can't cooperate with Yost.
It's because he's cooperating, recommending to cooperate with those two people, because we have an annexation pending, and the question has been that they ought to cooperate. So they're trying to show their good faith and cooperation.
Okay. I mean, I don't think I can say it, or maybe I have to say it a few more times, is that we're willing... Well, I've said it 4 times, so maybe you've heard it once already. We're willing to work with developed lands in the township as opposed to undeveloped. Undeveloped lands, we want to require annexation. Developed lands, we're willing to discuss different issues with them. It's that simple.
Is there a law in Ohio that allows the health department or the EPA to require somebody to hook onto sewer if it's within like 200 feet of their property?
I think there might be.
Okay, thanks. That's all.